Okay, let's try this again. There was technical difficulties on my computer. So whoever was on, just go ahead and hop back on. I'll give it some time. I'll pull up my notes while I'm waiting. There he is. I'm praying for better equipment, but I'm doing what I can with what I have. Right. Many apologies. Oh boy. Okay. Hopefully you all can see me. If you can hear me clearly, please let me know if you can or can't. I tried on my computer and it wasn't clear, so. Alright, I'll wait a little bit. Hi, Mom. Alright, hopefully you all can see me and hear me clearly. If you can, let me know in the comments, please, because I don't want to start going on a tangent and then no one can hear what I'm trying to say. But as I was saying on, just a few minutes ago, this is the first episode of my live podcast, Have a Little Talk with Mickey. Mickey is me, Mickey J. That's my pen name. When I'm being creative, that's what I go as. Hey, Mom. So, yeah. Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it. This first episode is about curse breakers. Curse breakers are people. Well, I was trying to find like a dictionary definition, but I couldn't find one. So I'm just using my own definition. So to me, a curse breaker is one who tackles generational curses head on. The ones that the generational curses that those before them couldn't, wouldn't, or didn't face. They've seen the damage that's been done or is being done in their family and have decided that it stops with them. I'm sure we've seen a lot of times the quote, "It ran in my family until it ran into me." That's, in a nutshell, that's what a curse breaker is. Someone who's decided that this thing, this mindset, this behavior, this attitude, whatever it is, it's been going on for too long. And, they want it to stop. They want to bring it to an end. And they can recognize it in many different ways. Whether they see it in someone else or they see it in themselves, and whatever the curse may be, it could be, like I said, a mindset, a thing, a person, an attitude, anything that's toxic, that's bringing damage to the family and to the bloodline. Yeah. So I know I myself I consider myself a curse breaker. Growing up, like, my parents did a pretty good job. They protected me, kept me from a lot of things. I didn't realize that I was a curse breaker until I got out from under that umbrella of my parents. They kept me from a lot of things. And looking back, yes, they did do a pretty good job. It's just that when I got out from under them, I started dealing with things, and I started to see things, because sometimes when you're in a thing, the perspective is different. Like, when you're in it, and I'm not calling my parents toxic. They're not. Nobody's perfect. I'm not saying that I came from a toxic household, but what I'm saying is when you're in a thing, the perspective is different. there's some things you don't see, there's some things you don't notice. Like I said, my parents protected me from a lot of things, so there were things that I was unaware of. But when you separate yourself and you look from the outside in, you're like, oh shucks, okay, so that, like, 2 and 2 starts making 4, basically. The math kind of starts mathing. And you see things and you realize things. And me personally, there were things that I didn't deal with until I moved out of my parents' house. There were, battles that I never thought I would have faced until I got out from under them. But how, oh, sorry, and just as a sidebar, definitely feel free to add any comments, any input, feedback, anything like that. That's the point of why I went live. I want this to be like a open dialogue. I want you all to join in the conversation as well. So how do you know if you or somebody you know is a curse breaker? Curse breakers tends to be the black sheep, the one that doesn't go with the crowd. They're normally the ones that they question things or they challenge things. Since we're talking about, generational curses, sorry, I'm looking at my notes, that's why I'm looking down. They question or challenge the toxic things or people that everyone else turns a blind eye to. So it could be that strange family member that, or like I said before, that it could be a mindset, it could be an attitude, anything that's like passed on from generation to generation. After a while, you kind of get used to it, and everyone just chalks it up to, well, that's just how it is. Just because that's how it is, that doesn't mean that's how it has to be. It doesn't have to continue to be that way. Things can most definitely change. Just because it's been going on for years and years and years and it's been accepted, that doesn't mean that has to keep going on, especially if it's something that's not benefiting the family, if it's something that is hindering the family. And since I'm gonna be doing natural and spiritual, because y'all don't hear, y'all know I'm a minister, so it's gonna come out. It's just in me. But things that are causing the family not to prosper, those are the things that kind of needed. Well, it's a little too late for it to be nipped in the bud if it's been going on for so long. But you don't have to accept it. And the curse breakers are normally the ones who don't accept it. Hey, Juliana, my good sis. Yeah. So the things that people are turning a blind eye to, a lot. I know me growing up, I was a very curious child. My mom's on here, so she can attest to this. I was always asking. I always wanted to know why. I always had to know why. I always wanted to know where we were going, why we were going there, everything like that. And I'm still like that to this day. I want to know where we're going, why we're going there, what time are we going to be there, how long are we going to be there. Like, I want to know everything. I was always a very curious child. So I was always asking questions, and it got annoying to them sometimes, but they love me, so they dealt with it. But another thing, curse breakers carry things that don't belong to them. By that, I mean, again, like I said in the beginning, things that don't belong to them, it's the things that weren't dealt with in past generations. The things that weren't handled, the things that weren't, the things that weren't prayed about, the things that weren't dealt with, things like that. Like, we're literally passing this stuff on. And so when it does run into that curse breaker, it's like, whoa. Sometimes it catches them off guard. I know me personally, there were some things that caught me off guard. I'm like, well, where did that come from? Like, why am I dealing with this? I've never dealt with this before. Where is this coming from? And I had to recognize, oh, like I had to you have to take that step back and look. Take a step back and look at your family. Like, look at the things that go on in your family in generations past, and sometimes even generations, like those who are younger than you, like future generations. Just take a look. You know, they carry things that don't belong to them. They fight battles that are not theirs. And they also battle demons that were never assigned to them. They weren't originally assigned to them. Like, just like God sends us on assignment, the devil sends demons on assignment as well. We all know the plan of the enemy is to steal, kill, and destroy. And he's going to try everything he can. He's going to throw things at us, anything he can. And when generations pass, when they don't deal with it, if they just succumb to it, or they just are like, or maybe they don't recognize it. Maybe they don't recognize what's going on, but when it gets passed down to generation to generation to generation, it stays in the bloodline. Until it's dealt with, it's going to stay in the bloodline. And, you know, whoever the curse breaker is, you know, it takes time, but they recognize that. And they tackle it head on. And it's not easy. It's really not. It's not easy. And it brings me to, you know, my last few points. This probably won't be a long live, but that's okay. It'll be short and strong and to the point. Curse breakers, they mean no harm. Like, when they do question things, when they are like, because they realize, oh, that's not right. Like, something is not right here. Like, they realize something is not right. So they question it, and it can be as simple as a why. Like, why do you do that? Or why do we do that? Why when this person comes around? Yes, you have to look and ask questions. You have to take that step back and look. You have to be observant. This is probably the most some of y'all will hear me talk is on this very podcast, because in person I am just like, I sit in the corner, eat my little fruit snacks or pretzels, whatever I have in my bag. I'm very quiet, but I am very observant. I look around, I keep my head on a swivel. You know, with the kind of job that I have to be that way anyway. And again, that's in the natural and spiritual. You know, you have to look and ask questions. And it can be as simple as a why. Like, why do we do that? You know, like, why do so many people accept the same thing? Like, why are we accepting this? Why do we act this way? Why do we think this way? Why do we always say that? You know, that's all it is. They see and recognize that something is not right, and they're curious. They want to know why. Where does this come from? Because if you can find the root of it and kill the root of it, then there you go. End of the curse. And it sounds very simple, but it's easier said than done, for sure. Their intention is not to stir the pot. Most times they just want clarity. And honestly, that's all it is. They just want clarity. Once you see a thing clearly, you figure out what it is, then you can handle it, whatever the issue is, especially if it's something internal. If it's something, sorry, I'm just gonna change this angle a little bit. Okay, that's better. If it's a mindset, if it's an attitude, if it's something, even if it's just as simple as an urge, like, what is it? Like, what is this? Why am I feeling this way? Like, and especially when it comes out of nowhere, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. And so you want clarity. And then a lot of times, if you recognize that you are a curse breaker, like if you know that you are, you're going to have to ask those questions. And you might have to have those hard conversations. And I'm talking to myself as well. Like, you might have to have those conversations. Exactly. No, you were not born that way. I'm trying to tell you, like, it's like you weren't born that way. It was passed on. It was passed on to you. Whatever the mindset is, whatever the attitude is, whatever the urge is, especially if you don't recognize it, if it's something that you never dealt with before, now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I woke up feeling this way, or, you know what, that's a sign. That's a flag. I'm not gonna call it a red flag, but it's a flag. It's an indicator of, you know, something, and especially if you've seen it before. If you've seen it before in your family, and now you're seeing it in you, it's like, oh, wait a minute. You can, and when that happens, you can either deal with it, or you can be like everybody else before you and just let it keep on going through the bloodline. Let it keep on going through to the next generation. And if it's toxic, my prayer is that you don't pass it on. My prayer is that you do face it head on. Exactly, Mom. Always ask. Always ask. And it may be, depending on what it is, it may be uncomfortable, but uncomfortable conversations, they bring healing. They bring results. They bring resolve, you know, so they're necessary. Definitely necessary. Another thing about curse breakers, they're operating with no blueprint. A lot of times, they are the first. They'll be the first one in their family to be like, okay, this is going on long enough. It's time to bring it to an end. No one before them, like, it's not often that you have somebody, when you are a curse breaker, it's not often that you have somebody before you who is like, oh, you're dealing with that? Okay, well, this is what you do. Because if it's something that everyone before you and everyone else in the family has just accepted, then they haven't dealt with it. They don't talk about it. They sweep it under the rug. They just, you know, whatever. And when you bring it up, they may try and do the same thing. Like, so they don't know how to deal with it. So the curse breaker is figuring it out on their own. All on their own. And it's not easy. Like, it's not easy. It's really not. Excuse me. But once they have laid that path, those behind them will have a way to freedom. They'll be the one to show them, like, okay, so you're dealing with this. Okay, this is what you do. And, you know, we'll do natural and spiritual, but I'm going to do spiritual right now. Like, okay, so we're going to pray about it. We're going to talk about it and pray about it. And, you know, the curse breaker, they'll have a way to show them, you know, once they do conquer it. It's important to be patient with, like, if someone you know is a curse breaker, it's important to be patient with them, because a lot of the generational things or generational curses could very well be rooted in trauma, which could be the very reason why it hasn't been dealt with, because, you know, it's unresolved trauma. It's traumatic to revisit it. No one really wants to revisit a traumatic place, but it's necessary if you want to heal. I just got back in therapy myself, and that's what I'm working on. My therapist has me doing what's called a trauma timeline. So I literally on paper am laying it all out, everything traumatic that happened in my life. And she also told me, along with that, to list how I coped with it. That's where we're starting. It's going to take some soul search. It's taken some soul searching. I've been digging deep. I have unlocked some core memories, and I'm like, whoa. And, you know, when you dig things up and you bring it to the surface, anyone who may have ever gardened before, when you're breaking up that ground, things come up. things that are not so pleasant, things that you don't want to touch, things, but you have to do it. You have to dig down deep. You have to dig down deep, and you have to get your hands dirty. And I just started the process last night, and I do believe it's going to be beneficial. And again, it's not easy because it's trauma. A lot of generational things are rooted in trauma, and it's very unfortunate. You never know. You never realize how many victims are in your family until you start to deal with those things. The things that you bring up, the feelings that you bring up, the thoughts that you bring up. It's important to have a strong support system. And I'm not even on my notes anymore. I already went through my notes. I'm just not rambling, but I'm just flowing right now. So the things that you bring up, it's important to have a support group. It doesn't have to be a large group. I know we just talked about, we are hearing about the story of Shanquella Robinson and how her group of friends completely betrayed her. I'm not saying that that's going to happen to us, but it's important to have a sure and secure support system. I have my two closest friends. I have enough friends, but I know that they have my back. I know that I have their support, and vice versa. They know that I have their support. They know that I love them, and I'm down for them 100%. Absolutely. But back to being a curse breaker, it's important to have that because it's going to get hard. It's going to get tough. It's going to get uncomfortable, and there's going to be times when you might want to walk away and be like, okay, this is too deep, but that's okay. It's okay to take a break, but don't give up on it. Keep digging, keep plowing, you have to get to the root of it. Somebody has to get to the root of it. If you really want this thing to end, if you really want this thing to come to a close, if you really want to kill this thing, you have to do the work. You have to put the work in. And so that's what it takes. In the spiritual, definitely you want a relationship with God. You definitely want to have a relationship with God. Talk to him. Make sure you're praying. Make sure, even if you gotta fast, listen, turn that plate over. Listen, turn that plate over and seek him if you need to. Whatever you need to do. Make sure you are tapped in, because that'll also give you added strength for the journey. That supernatural strength, that will be the wind beneath your wings that'll carry you to that place of healing. And in the natural, apart from the support system, I would definitely suggest therapy. It's a worthy investment. It's definitely an investment worth making. A lot of people say, oh, I can't afford therapy, or therapy was stigmatized for a long time in the Black community, but now it's becoming more accepted, thank God. And I would suggest that. I would suggest therapy. And even if you don't want to go to therapy, just have some people you can talk to. Have an outlet. Me, I'm a creative person. I'm always writing. I'm journaling just about every day. I have one book that's out. I have another one about to come out. I also dance. I also sing. Something that helps me get those feelings out. Something that helps me, something to calm me down when I am getting a little worked up, when I am getting a little overwhelmed, when it gets to be too much, because again, when you're doing that digging, when you're, investigating, trying to find out, asking those questions, it gets uncomfortable, it gets overwhelming, absolutely. And so, take that break to breathe, take that time to just kind of find yourself again. And for those who know that they are a curse breaker, like, definitely my heart goes out to you, because I personally know how the journey is. I know how it can affect you. I know how it can affect your relationships with other people. But keep in mind that you're on this journey for a reason. It's not just for you. It's for the next generation and generation after that. It's like playing a video game and you get to that boss level. Like, when you first start the game, I played this game called My Little Universe, and you know, in the game, you literally build a world. You're building a world, and every now and then a little monster will pop up, and then, you know, your little character just, you know, minks a few times and then it's gone. But there's one level where you kind of like go off on a side quest, and it's a huge monster. It's a big one. And it's not just 2 or 3 hits to take it down. It's a few. And in this game, it's crazy how this is coming together. This is crazy. But in the game, when I play, yes, self-care as well. I'm gonna circle back to that. But in the game, when I'm playing the game and I'm like on that boss level, you know, I run up on it, I take a few hits, and mind you, this is a battle. So this larger monster is hitting me back. We're hitting each other. And there's a little health meter. You can see when it's going down and going down and going down. When it's going down, I take a step, I go away, let my health restore, and then I go back. And then eventually, I kill that monster. And there's a reward, Lord. And there's a reward. When I'm done, once I've killed that thing, there is a reward. That's good to me. That was good to me. I don't know if that was good to anybody else, but that was good to me. There's a reward. So, if you're a curse breaker, keep that in mind. Like, keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind. There's a reward at the end. You're not doing this for nothing. Like, yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. You're not gonna like how you feel. You're not gonna like the thoughts that come. You're not gonna like the memories that come back up. Those things that you tucked away, those things that you buried, those things that you just swept under the rug, yeah, those things. That's what you need to touch on. Those sore subjects. That's what you need to touch on. That's what you need to, because that's where you need healing. That's where the healing will come. Those things, the hidden things. And I'm not saying you have to broadcast it to the world, because I'm a very private person. The things that I'm dealing with, like, a lot of people have no idea. They have no idea. So I'm not saying broadcast it, but bring it to the surface. Bring it to the surface. You know, for my people who are spiritual, and most of you are, bring it to the surface and take it to God. The song says, take your burdens to the Lord and leave it there. That's what James Hall and them said. Take your burdens to the Lord and leave them there. The key is to leave them there. That's the key. Don't pick it back up. Don't pick it back up. Treat it like day old garbage on trash day. Actually, what's today? Thursday? Yeah. Today was trash day in my neighborhood. We put our trash on the curb and we left it there for someone else to take. Somebody else took it. Yes, seeing people free is the best reward. Absolutely. Because you have to realize you're not just unlocking freedom for yourself, it's for everybody else. And it's not just future generations. You can heal the past generations too. Like, seeing people free is the best reward. And once your family sees that you got free from it, then they know it's possible. They know it's possible to get free from it. they know, they recognize, they realize, okay, so that he didn't accept it, she didn't accept it, she conquered it, maybe I can too. You're giving hope to everyone else. And it doesn't always have to be your family, it can be your friends as well. You're giving them hope. You know, those who have a front row seat to your journey, that's how they benefit from it. They see you getting free. It's not an easy road. It's not a clean road, and it's not linear. It's very much all over the place. You're gonna be all over the place sometimes, and sometimes I felt like I was losing my mind. Because I'm like, what in the world is going on? Sometimes it feels like the more steps you take forward, you get knocked even further back. And it can get discouraging. It can get lonely. It gets so heavy. Believe me, it gets so heavy. But, you know, I from what I saw, everyone who's been tuning in is saying, so you know what, we're just gonna ride that wave. We're gonna ride that wave. Like, natural and spiritual, we're just gonna ride the spiritual wave now. I'm just gonna go with that. Hey, Jeffrey! Hi, I miss you so much, and I hope you're doing well. But yeah, so, yes. Juliana mentioned self-care. That's another very, very important part of healing. Self-care is very important. You have to make sure you're taking care of yourself when you are fighting these battles, and when you are you know, just doing this soul searching and things like that. You just have to make sure that you're taking that time for yourself, especially if you're married, if you have a family of your own, if you have kids, especially if you have more than one child. Me, I have a man and a dog for now, and you know, even still, having that me time to restore, you know, having that time to restore yourself, to get your strength back, to get your vigor back. You need that. And I'm not saying you have to like fly yourself out to Jamaica for a week, because that's expensive, and you still gotta work, you still gotta go to church. If you serve in church, you still gotta be there, you still have obligations, but just steal away for a moment. Take time for yourself. What was that? Sorry, I got distracted. But yeah, it's so very important. Like, if you are a curse breaker, or if there's a curse breaker in your life, like the things that I listed previously, those are things you have to remember. Like, be patient with them. Excuse me. They're gonna go through many different emotions. I have, like, the different stages of grief. Yeah, you're gonna go through those. And also in this journey, you may lose a few things and a few people, but you're gonna gain so much more. Just like I was saying before, like how I used the video game analogy, like after that boss level, once you beat that huge daunting monster, there's a reward at the end. And you have to remember that. You have got to remember that. It's imperative. Like, so if you do lose things, if you do lose people, like, I'll talk about myself. I'll always, I have no problem putting myself out there. I don't like to lose people. I, to be completely honest, I have abandonment issues. Like, when people walk out of my life, it affects me. It really affects me. But when you're on this curse-breaking journey and this healing journey, it's a lot of healing involved in it. But there are things and people, and honestly, this is any kind of journey. On any journey, there are people and things that cannot go with you. There's things you have to drop off. Like, just, if you take public transportation, if you've ever been on a train, there's stops, you know, unless you got a one-way train, like on Amtrak or something. But If you're on a bus, if you're on a train, there's different stops. And at every stop, some people get off, some people get on. There's an exchange that happens. There's a price to pay. This is getting good to me again. There's a price to pay. And this is about the people in your life. There's a price to pay. You're already paying a price by tackling these things head on, by facing these things head on, and making the decision that you're going to kill this thing. You're going to kill this mindset. You're going to kill this behavior. You're going to kill this demon. And this is like a metaphorical killing. We're not out here, murdering people. Please don't. I don't condone murder. But if it's a toxic person, if you're dealing with it, that's a better way to put it. You're dealing with it. There's a price to pay. You're already paying the price by facing those uncomfortable things. Those if you find yourself in that mindset or exhibiting whatever that behavior is, and you recognize it, that's the price you're paying. The effect that it has on your external relationships, that's part of the price. And those who are in your life, who know and understand the journey that you're on, they pay a price as well. And it may not be as costly as yours. It may not be as heavy as yours, but there's a price to pay. And on this journey, there's some people will understand, some people won't. Some people will be down for the ride and some people won't. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to lose people. But, some things and some people are dead weight. If we're talking about things as far as behaviors and mindsets, that's dead weight. That's baggage. Like, do you realize you have been carrying some heavy baggage for years? Because especially if it's generational, it's from generations past, it's like a snowball. It's like a snowball effect. As it rolls down the hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And once it hits you, it's heavy. It is heavy. That's dead weight that you need to drop off. And now we're on the topic of people. When you're in a certain mindset, like you birds of a feather, truly do flock together. You attract people. You would attract both good and bad people. You attract like-minded people. You attract people who want to take advantage. And since we're still on the spiritual wave, Minister Anita says it all the time, the anointing is attractive. There's people who see it and they recognize it, or people who see it and they want it. So they decide, I'm going to attach myself to them because maybe I can benefit. Maybe I can benefit from it. There's opportunists out there who only want to be connected to you because of what you carry, because of the good things that you carry. Those who are anointed, listen, those who are anointed normally are the very curse breakers. They are the ones. Like I said, it comes with a price. So, there's things to carry out. And those people, once you realize that those people are dead weight, it's time to drop them off. It's like, oh, okay, this is where I leave you. And you don't always have to have a conversation with them. You don't always have to tell them, listen, we're done here. Like, with some people, you're going to have to just walk away from some people. With some people, you just have to drop them off. You don't have to always, it doesn't always have to be an exit interview. Y'all don't always have to sit down and have a conversation as to why you're disconnecting from them. Some people I disconnected from, and I didn't tell them. They figured it out on their own when they didn't hear from me anymore, or when they hit me up and I didn't answer. They'll pick up on it. But you got somewhere to be. You've got somewhere to go, and this heavy baggage over here, and these mindsets over here, you've got this over here, you've got people over here leeching off of you, taking advantage of you, trying to benefit from what you have, who you're connected to, whatever it may be. Or maybe they see that you're on the road to healing, and you know, those whose intentions are not pure, they have to go. You know, you have somewhere to be, and everything and everybody cannot go with you. You have to realize that. And you know, me personally, like, my journey gets lonely sometimes, and sometimes it feels unfair because I'm like, where are my people? Like, who can I turn to? Because I'm the one that people come to for encouragement, for a laugh. I'm funny sometimes. For a laugh, for an encouraging word, you know, for prayer, things like that. They come to me for it. But I can't always go to the people who come to me, if that makes sense. Because, you know, when that's another thing that you carry, sometimes you have to carry people in the spirit. Sometimes you have to sometimes you have the strength that they don't have. So they're pulling on you. But sometimes it can get lonely. Sometimes it can get draining. It can definitely drain you. But that's when you need to take that step away and recharge. Just put your phone on Do Not Disturb, run you a nice bubble bath, get you some tea, whatever you sip on, no judgment, and just have you time to just recharge. Because being a curse breaker is not easy. It's a daily battle. It's a daily struggle. Like, it's not for the weak. It's definitely not for the weak. And, you know, it's not like you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm going to go break a curse. You're not Dora the Explorer. You're not. Like, be careful what you take on. If you recognize you're a curse breaker, okay, that's different. But if you just decide you're going to take on a journey, like, make sure you know what you're doing. Realize that your words have power. Realize that you just have to realize what you're taking on. Like, and this is coming firsthand from someone who is a curse breaker. You know, not saying I was exactly the black sheep, but I was definitely different. A lot of groups, a lot of cliques in church and in school I didn't fit in with. I got along with a lot of people, but didn't always fit in. I was always different. You know, I knew I was different. I accepted that early on. I accepted that. And, you know, I had to be okay with that. And even now, at 30, at my big age, I have to remind myself, like, your journey is different. You have to remember that your journey is different. Love you too, Juliana. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you everybody else for tuning in. This is, like, amazing. So glad you all wanted to listen to little old me. But, yeah, like, for those who are curse breakers, or if you know someone who is, I really hope that what I said was beneficial and helpful. I hope that you all do give feedback about it. And most of all, I hope you guys join me next week. I don't remember what the topic is, to be completely honest. I have to, you know, go in the archives and see. But just for those who are curse breakers, again, my heart goes out to you. This is not an easy journey. This is not a journey to be taken lightly, because you're fighting things that have been passed down from generation to generation, and you've decided, okay, it's gonna stop here, it's gonna stop with me. I'm not accepting this anymore. It takes courage. That's what I forgot to say. Thank you for bringing that back. It takes courage to be a curse breaker, because again, you're having those uncomfortable conversations. You're confronting things that, like, you're confronting those things that everyone else turned a blind eye to and kind of swept under the rug. You know, and then it brings up things in yourself. It brings up feelings, it brings up thoughts, emotions, urges. You have to be careful. And again, we're riding the spiritual wave this time, so you have to stay in prayer. You have to stay connected to God. If you don't have a relationship with God, definitely get one. If you don't have a prayer life, definitely develop one. And I'm not saying you have to walk around speaking in tongues and all that, but something. Start somewhere. You know, if you've ever seen the movie War Room? Yes, War Room. This lady literally had she wrote her prayers out. I used to keep a Dear God journal. Something like anything, you have to stay connected. It's so important for anyone, really. It's important for all of us to stay connected to God, have that connection, have that relationship, and build on it. Because when your strength runs out, you need something to tap into. The last time I danced to a song called Cisterns, and I explained what a cistern was. It's kind of like a backup to a well. And I made the analogy of Jesus being the well that never runs dry. That's what you need to be connected to. That's what you're going to need to tap into when your strength runs out. And really, you don't even really need to use your strength. You realize that, right? Like, you don't have to use your strength because he's the well that never runs dry. It never runs out. So why waste your energy? Like, take hold and like grab onto God and really stay connected, tap in, pull on him. Like, God doesn't get tired of us. He never will. Never will. So it's just important to remember those things. And what time is it? Oh, okay. Wow. It's a long time. I've been on here for almost an hour. But yeah, I just hope that I said something that helped somebody. If you came on a little later, definitely watch the replay and see, you know, to hear what I was saying before, you know, my notes and whatnot. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I think everyone who came on, everybody who watched, everyone who wanted to listen to little old me, I appreciate it so very much. This was great. A lot better than I thought it would be. But yeah, join me next week, same time, same place. I'll be announcing the name of the next episode soon, probably tonight, and I'll be, you know, letting you guys know, keeping you all in the loop. Just for now, it'll just be on my social media. I don't have a separate page for this podcast, but yeah, this was great. And I will see you all next week, hopefully. Thank you for joining me on Have a Little Talk with Mickey. Have a great evening and a great week.